Welcome. Hey, and those of you that are huge Caitlin Clark homers and fans, I'm right there with you. I call us all, we're Caitlin Clarks. I get it. I just happen to love people a slightly different way. And so for those of you that are Caitlin Clarks who have been surprised that in recent weeks, I've been occasionally critical of Caitlin Clark's play on the court over social media. Sometimes I give commentary over Twitter during the games. I live tweet the games. I'm a huge Caitlin Clark fan. But I just happen to be a bit different. I love Jason Whitlock more than virtually anything else. But I'm very critical of Jason Whitlock because I love him. Same reason I'm critical of Caitlin Clark. And so on Friday, many people were upset. The Indiana Fever played the Minnesota Lynx, and I went into that game like, I think the Fever are going to get beat here. The Minnesota Lynx play a particular style of basketball, very physical. It's a kind of a masculine team. They're well coached. And they play a style of basketball that's problematic for the Indiana Fever. And if Caitlin Clark doesn't clean up the sloppiness of her play, Fever are going to get beat. That was my thoughts going into the game. And then I sat down and watched the game Friday as much as I could. I had an important dinner engagement, and so I'm out to dinner. My phone's on. I'm watching the game over YouTube on my phone, and the game kind of went the way that I expected. The Minnesota Lynx at Indiana ended up winning by 11 points, and I woke up early the next morning saying, you know what? I need to watch this game with my entire focus, watching it out to dinner on my phone. I couldn't follow it enough, but I need to watch this. So I woke up early Saturday morning, watched the game in its entirety. Because I'm that kind of nut. I love Caitlin Clark. I'm an Indiana Fever fan. They're my new favorite team in all of sports, and Caitlin Clark is my favorite athlete. And so watching the game, I had a particular reaction. I was embarrassed for Caitlin Clark. And I started tweeting about, this is an embarrassing performance from Caitlin Clark. She had no control of her emotions. She spent the entire game bickering and whining to referees. There was a particular moment that in this game against the Minnesota Lynx where she flopped and laid down on the ground with her arms spread out like she had been assassinated. She drove to the basket, a small, slight bump, little tiny bit of contact, no call. She flops, lays across the ground on the floor. The Lynx get the rebound, go all the way down court. Caitlin Clark is still laying on the ground, pretending like she's been assassinated. They get a layup or get some bucket, the Lynx do. They come back down court, and Caitlin Clark is still in this cosplay that she was almost killed on the previous play. And Indiana ran its offense. She eventually got involved. But the cosplay, the over-dramatization, the LeBron James flopping, the Luka Doncic flopping had just gone too far. And then she started trying to show up the refs, clapping when they made a call in their face. She's just way out of control. Spent the entire game arguing, bickering with the refs, doing all kinds of extra stuff, trying to draw calls. It was embarrassing. It's the kind of lack of emotional control that will stop the Indiana Fever from reaching their full potential and stop Caitlin Clark from reaching her full potential. And the Caitlin Clark fans are upset with me about it. Oh, how do you point this out? How dare you? Oh my God. Jason, you've turned on Caitlin Clark. I have not turned on Caitlin Clark. I love Caitlin Clark. And that's why I'm calling it out. And I'm well aware that this type of behavior marked her career at the University of Iowa. It was bad then. And if anybody remembers, you can go back last season when I started seeing this, I called it out then. Because I would like to see Caitlin Clark mature into the best version of herself. And I know, oh, she's a rookie and she's having this great season. I get it. She can do better. She's capable of doing better. In my view, Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever are capable of winning the championship this year. Their biggest flaw is the lack of emotional control from their leader, Caitlin Clark. It's spreading like a germ to the rest of the team. The next thing I know, Aaliyah Boston, who I believe is, this is from my observation over the last year and a half, particularly this season when I paid close attention. This is one of the sweetest young people on the planet, Aaliyah Boston. And I'm watching her turn into a whiner and a complainer and paying too much attention to the referees. And it's like, oh, Caitlin Clark has let this cancer off in this team. She has no emotional control. And that's what the Fever just keep turnover after turnover after turnover because Caitlin Clark doesn't play the smartest brand of basketball. And I know many of you, oh, she's a rookie and, you know, she's got to take those risks. All the great things that you like about Caitlin Clark is because she's taking those risks. No, she can be more efficient. And instead of wasting energy and focus on referees, she should focus her energy and effort and emotion on playing a more disciplined. I'm not saying lose the creativity. I'm not saying lose who Caitlin Clark is. I'm saying make that version more efficient because these record numbers of turnovers, game after game after game, she's now averaging 5.7 turnovers per game. We've never seen any player, no elite level player, turn the ball over at this level in the WNBA or the NBA. She's averaging 5.7 turnovers per game. There's no one else in the WNBA averaging 4. The second highest is Aaliyah Thomas at 3.9. That's nearly a 2 turnover difference. And I know, look, there are reasons. Caitlin Clark faces a different level of defensive attention than anybody in WNBA history. They're doubling her, getting the ball out of her hands. They're blitzing her, getting the ball out of her hands. I get it. There's more pressure, all the conversation and talk about her personally. Angel Reese out here trying to smear Caitlin Clark and her fans as racist. I get it. But to whom much is given, much is expected. And she's been given a crazy amount of talent, a crazy amount of attention, a lot of money for a women's basketball player who plays 40 games in a season. And so I expect much because she's capable of it. It's 2-parent home. Looks like a great set of parents. She can have more control over herself. She can cut down her turnovers, and the Indiana Fever can contend for the WNBA championship this year if Caitlin Clark improves the way she's capable of. This is not hate of Caitlin Clark. It's me not wanting Caitlin Clark to go down the same path as LeBron James and a lot of these diva athletes. So I'm going to criticize Caitlin Clark from time to time. And there are people out there that, you know, and again, what I'm doing has nothing to do with what I'm about to bring up. But there are people that are just very confused about what it is I do. I'm a critic, and I've told you all that from day one. And anybody, including myself, is capable of being criticized by me. And we've been moved into this area, this normalcy, this culture where everybody just picks sides and blindly supports the side they've picked. I'm a Caitlin Clark fan. She can do no wrong. I'm an Angel Reese fan. She can do no wrong. That's not me. This is the way I've always been. Many people, all Jason does is tear down the black man and criticize. No, I tear down idols. That's what I do. I criticize idols, even my own, because Caitlin Clark is my favorite athlete. Has anybody ever seen me or anyone go from, hey, I hate women's basketball in the WNBA to a WNBA pass, constant conversation about the WNBA, constant research and study into players I previously never cared about? That's all Caitlin Clark. She's done that to me. No, I am a Caitlin Clark supporter, but this is what comes along with my support. I'm going to criticize you if you're an idol, even if you're my own idol. Unless your name is Jesus Christ, there's a chance you will get criticized by me. And it doesn't matter whether you're black, white, green, yellow, WNBA, or NBA. And this is why I've never had any respect for the people that, oh, you criticize LeBron James and these black athletes. I'm like, so? That's what I do, you coward. Don't be like the LeBron groupies. If you hear me pointing out, hey, I think this is wrong about Caitlin Clark and I think she can prove here, don't turn into some cowardly, whiny, oh, Jason hates Caitlin Clark. Don't do it. Don't embarrass yourself the way Caitlin Clark embarrassed herself on Friday. She had no emotional control. She looked like like halfway what I would expect the way Angel Reese to behave under some adversity and stress. Caitlin Clark's got to get her emotions under control, and she's got to cut down on the turnovers. If she does those things, the Indiana Fever can win a championship this year. If she doesn't, they're going to probably get eliminated in the first round. Particularly, I think now the Minnesota Lynx have moved up to the 2 seed. But if Indiana were the 3 seed versus the Minnesota Lynx, the Fever were the 6 seed matched up against the Minnesota Lynx as a 3 seed, they'll lose 2 of those 3 games and get eliminated in the first round of the playoffs, if that happens. Because Minnesota, I don't like their coach at all. I don't care for the team they put together. It's way too masculine for me. But that's a well-coached team that knows how to beat the Indiana Fever, knows how to exploit Caitlin Clark's weaknesses, knows how to trigger Caitlin Clark into running around for an entire game, making a fool of herself. She has the control and the power to stop it. Don't play the victim. Don't run around looking for fouls. Don't run around looking for the refs to bail you out, because the refs have had it with Caitlin Clark. That's the play I was talking about here. Go back to the very beginning of that. She barely gets touched, and she flops and lays down on the court, never comes down court. Look at this. Nothing happened to her. This is the flop, and she's laying down on the court. They go down and get a bucket. Caitlin Clark never shows up on that half of the court. Never shows up. They pass the ball around. They get a bucket. It's unacceptable. Quit playing that game. Quit running around being a victim and looking for the refs to bail you out. I don't want to see that Caitlin Clark. That's a LeBron James type play. I don't like LeBron James. I don't like when I see it out of Caitlin Clark. If you don't like it, you may have to find another show to watch because that's just me. That's who I am. I was going to add a little bit more about Angel Reese to this topic, but I really don't want to talk about Angel Reese. She's got some season-ending injury. And it's kind of funny. I'll just add this a little bit. It's kind of funny. First game out with Angel Reese. Chicago Sky played one of their best games. They won in a blowout the other night without Angel Reese, her first game out. Kennedy Carter, now free to play her game. This Isabel, I think, Harrison, now free to play her game because they're not having to force the ball into one of the most unskilled offensive players in the history of basketball. And I know Angel Reese, scored a bunch of points in her final game and hit a bunch of outside shots, and Sunday I'm watching the Fever play as I'm watching the NFL. I got multiple screens going. And I'm watching it on ESPN, and every other commercial was featuring Angel Reese and her hitting a three-pointer, and I think it's promoting some movie, Wicked or whatever, and I was just like, oh, we're off in a fantasy world where Angel Reese is some kind of jump shooter, and I just couldn't take it. So I quit watching the game on ESPN3, and I went to the Indiana Fever team stream where I wouldn't be subjected to all the Angel Reese propaganda. But Angel Reese has a good excuse for ending the season. She now gets to pretend like, oh, I'm going to spend the whole offseason. I'm going to come back as a better offensive player. Angel, if you're sitting out there thinking you're going to turn yourself into a three-point shooter during the offseason, good luck. You'll be just as bad an offensive player as you were this year. You'll probably be worse. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a moment of Fearless.